Rebooting every NFL team, making a raid through the AFC East. Today, we're calling it Control, Alt, Compete. We talk about what teams need to do to sort of reset for 2021. So let's do it and talk about the Miami Dolphins. So looking at their offseason, so far they did lose a few big pieces on defense. Kyle Van Noy, Shaq Lawson. They get Myles Gaskin back. He recovers from MCL injury. That run game, a big question mark for me. What's the question for you? Adam Rink asking at NFL.com one simple question with to say to the franchise piece and series. He says, what do they need to do in order to compete? We will try to answer that question now, KB.
They got to take care of business, and they got to beat up the Bills. I mean the Buffalo Bills. You know, Bills beat almost everybody last year, but they beat the hell out of the Dolphins. They got almost 90 points on Miami in 2 games. Also, this is in week 17, I think. The second time that they played them, it was the most points scored in the final week of the season by a team in like 50 years. It was a historic beatdown. Tua threw 3 picks, and that's the last taste we got of the Dolphins. You know, you just went through this thing where Brady and Belichick dominated for years and years and years. Don't let Allen and McDermott become that same thing in your division. Like, I'm not even saying you have to beat them twice. You need to beat them. You need to send a message that you're not just going to take over this thing now. They get them week 2. And interestingly enough, the Dolphins go to Foxborough to start the season, and then it's Buffalo. So, like, right off the bat, who are you in the East? New England might be good. The Jets will see. But Buffalo right now is the belle of the ball. You need to beat them, and I would beat them in week 2 to not let this thing fester and let them think they own this division. You put your foot down.
The Dolphins are always going to compete. You go back to Brian Flores' first season in 2019. Tank City. Everyone thinks this is literally a team that's going to go 0-16. They won 5 games. He was a Coach of the Year candidate. It was unbelievable last year. With all the issues they had and the questions about Tua coming back from the injury, was he playing well enough? It's Ryan Fitzpatrick in and out and in and out. They still won 10 games. They're still there right at the end. What they need to truly compete, if we're talking about competing for the AFC East, for Super Bowls eventually, they need Tua Tagovailoa to prove them right.
Yeah.
If you end up with Justin Herbert becomes Patrick Mahomes and Tua becomes Mitch Trubisky, nothing else you does matters.
Sure.
Because you're not going to be able to fix the most important position. Tua was coming off of a major injury. He didn't have an off season. He's thrust into a system where Chan Gailey wanted to do a lot, especially from a protection standpoint. They really worked with him this offseason just to identify what does Tua do well. Let's play to those strengths and give him a real opportunity to be successful while also bringing in all those weapons for him.
Yeah, the focus is on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to the Dolphins, and rightfully so. I mean, Tua's polarizing. Even though he doesn't talk much, I feel like we just love talking about him, especially how last year went with Fitzpatrick and what he's going to do this season. But I would like to talk about the other side of the ball. Defensively, I feel like this group might be the most underappreciated group in the business. Shout out to underappreciated storylines, the old second to do here on the show. And I believe this is that. Like, just think about this for a second. They led the NFL with 29 takeaways after the previous season when they had 16. So just about doubling their production on that side of the ball, taking away the ball and then giving it to the offense. Then you look at Xavier Howard and what he was able to do, and we don't even really talk about that. Double-digit interceptions? Like, talk to any good DB in the league. Talk to Marcus Peters, Stephon Gilmore, Trey White, and ask them how hard it is to get 1 pick, let alone 10 in a season. So while we're talking about Tua and the running backs, wide receivers, and what they're going to do on offense, we forget that they have a defensive-minded head coach in Brian Flores who has that side of the ball playing at a high level. And regardless of how we're looking at Tua in this season, when they keep teams fewer than 20 points in 2020 at least, they were 7-0. So if you're telling Tua, hey, just take care of the rock, don't throw it away, and we're going to do our job on the defense side of the ball, how good can this team be after winning 10 games last year?
That's so true. They have to put it together, right? So defense, can they be with? There's great pieces, and they surrounded Tua with great pieces. My question would be, could this be the year? Devontae Parker, we love him, took a step back last year. Can he bring it in 2021? Will Fuller, he suspended 1 game. Can he prove that he's healthy
and
he
reliable.
Can stay on the field? And I mean, Waddle, we are obsessed with Waddle. We are the show of record for Jalen Waddle people in the NFL. But he's coming off a pretty serious injury, if we're being realistic. So can they pull it together? When I look at Tua and wanting to surround him with a defense that's stout, like you're saying, Nate, and wanting him to not have to do it all, like, let's get the run game going. They were 22nd last year. I personally was so shocked they added Malcolm Brown, a former Ram. I thought they were going to make a big splash. It was the other team, Jacksonville, that had a running back, James Robinson. and they decided to draft ETN instead. I just thought that they'd make a bigger move at RB to sort of help Tua get the best out of him and surround him with weapons. So they have to put it all together. I'm surprised they weren't a little more aggressive, but they clearly know what they have in a room with Myles Gaskin, Ahmed, and Malcolm Brown there. But this group has to be more productive this year. They can't be bottom half in the league, Tom.
There's no question, but also think about how the Dolphins have philosophically tried to build that offense.
Okay.
They brought in Chan Gailey as the coordinator. What does Chan Gailey do? It's all shotgun, spread it out, quick passing game, which is what Tua was such a good fit for, which is part of the reason that they became obsessed with Tua. Now you got different coordinators. It's George Godsey and Eric Stoodsville taking over. You're still going to have some of the same fundamental stuff, but how they actually implement that, the style of offense that they try to play in terms of the play calling and everything else, that's going to be tweaked a little bit, and there's optimism that that's going to help Tua take a step forward.
Is it all Tua for you with the Dolphins?
It's a lot of Tua. Just because I just see so many good players out there. Like, really, really good players and a really good coach and veteran coordinators. Like, this is Tua. I feel like the same way I do with Daniel Jones about the Giants. There's so many good players. It's got to be you, dude. It's got to be you.
And there's an element that we haven't seen, and it's more of how he deals with the roller coaster ride of moments in the game where it goes south.
Yeah.
You know, last year, we knew that Fitzpatrick was coming into the game.
Not now.
It was kind of like, okay, Fitz is coming in. Let's see if he can save the day. A couple of glances of Tua on the sideline when the camera would pan over there. But just, you know, unlike other quarterbacks, if Josh Allen goes, what do you call it? Crazy?
Sugar high Josh.
Sugar high Josh.
Yeah.
We kind of know he's going to figure it out.
Sure.
You know, you look at Lamar Jackson. If he makes a mistake, he's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
Tua hasn't been in this situation before.
Yeah.
Where after he makes a mistake, it's all on him to figure it out after that. That's another element, kind of pulling back the curtain to see how Tua handles those moments in the game that matter.
You talk about that moment a lot. If that moment hadn't happened, would you feel differently about Tua? Like that Fitz moment? Because you both talk about that pivotal moment of that happening.
Well, it was also multiple moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and the Dolphins fans always crack me up because they say, Tua wasn't benched, he was pulled. That's much different. And I'm not sure it is, but I know that it won't happen this year. Like that big brother with the beard, gone. You throw 3 picks, get